let's see. I don't know.
So basically, this time we really late announced the meetup, and I started to asking people about the presentation, and it was difficult. But thanks to all people which I reach out, I have so many presentations for the next one. But nobody was ready to talk in a week ahead announcement, so they will be ready next time. But now we have a discussion panel, and let's see. Paweł.
So guys, let's discuss. It's not a place where I'm gonna talk all the time. I really would like to talk to you guys. I've done the same internally in Visuality. As some of you may know, we have like weekly meeting of all the Rails devs, and we talk. When we discuss, we present different things. So at some point, I came with a question, which was directed to me by one of our clients. So basically, I was asked to review the status of security of an application. What does it mean? Like actually, on a daily basis, I speak with all the people in Visuality, with the devs, and I sometimes ask like, okay, so what would you like to specialize in, or what would you like to learn about, for example, about our realm, Ruby on Rails, and often people reply something about security. Awesome. So let's compile that. It's me asking you. If I were to ask you, please verify if this application is secure, what would you check?
Is it full stack application or API only?
Full stack application, yeah. API is just.
It's simple.
It's simple. No, it's still valid. But we have our. I'm great with drawing, right? So we have our Ruby on Rails application, and it's happy inside. And there are all those threads outside which wants to invade our application. So we want to check whether it's secure. Where do we start?
Question, are we start from, we need to check from external or
No,
from
we run the repository. It's our application. It's not, great question, thank you. So we are not really talking about pen testing. It's not like we hire a group of bad guys who would like to get in. It's not this stage. Of course, we should do that as well at some point. But it's our application, our repository, our server. But let's maybe focus on the Ruby on Rails realm. There's plenty of stuff to talk about. So we have this repository, and we want to make sure that it's as secure as possible. From whatever it means, like whatever security means, because it might be different things. So guys, what do you check first or second?
credentials.
Credentials, all right. What about them?
They shouldn't be added into the code base.
Credentials, but could you elaborate a bit?
No, so for example, it's coming from legacy applications. You know, at the beginning, Rails didn't provide any way to store credentials, and sometimes you had to put into the code. Or
So-
some initializers, for example.
So in repository.
Yep.
The
Okay.
master key is in the repository.
All right, cool. Let's continue. What else?
I would start from checking if there is a breakman in Gem file,
All
because
right.
you know it could be a microservice, so it could have like 5, 10 different classes, but it could be a huge monolith which were developed for like 10 years, right? So it's something for free. You just run breakman, and it might be a good start. SQL injections and stuff like that.
SQL injection. Whoa, we already have something to talk about. All right, so let's keep in here because while we are of different levels, that's for sure. Some of us have used Brakeman, others should. Brakeman, could you say what's it for?
Basically, it's some kind of tool that scans if you have some kind of, let's call it as bad practices,
Mhm.
some kind of simply security leaks. So let's say that into your SQL query you pass parameters without making sure
Mhm.
that everything is escaped, and basically somebody won't mess with your database, for instance.
Right. So again,
Yeah,
SQL injections,
something
right.
like that.
All right. So
Or
Mhm.
you can check basically if your gems are up to date, right? Because you can have a version which is outdated, has some kind of, again, security leaks, etc., etc.
All right. So let's go quickly through it. So Brakeman static analysis in general.
Yes.
So it analyzes the entire code base, checks whether you have like possible SQL injections, but also other things. So I guess it's SQL injection as a separate thing. I know Brakeman can find those, but it can find like 10 different other threads. Yeah, that's one. So we can statically analyze our code and see like a lot already. SQL injection, is everyone familiar with the term? Or is someone not familiar with the term? Okay, cool. And so I won't elaborate. Gem, it's okay not to be familiar, just the point. Gems up to date, all right. So do you mean like, do we use the more up-to-date versions or?
Not really, because you can have old legacy application, and when you
Mhm.
use the latest version, doesn't make sense, right? Because you will need to change a lot of things, but it's more about. So let's say that you're using some kind of gem like OmniAuth, right?
Mhm.
Facebook, Google, whatever, and your version got a security leak. I'm not saying that we should upgrade to the latest version, but to like the minor version which included that patch or something like that, because when we'll upgrade to the most recent one, you know how it's gonna end.
Mhm. So most recent version, if possible.
Yes.
I need to just put
Yeah,
something.
yeah, something generic.
There are two good tools for it, Bundler Audit, Gem, or the Bundler Audit.
Under audit. More or less, like 2 letters maximum is already right. It's kind of also probably covered by Brakeman in the current versions, I think. I don't remember. I've run all those recently. I don't know if Brakeman covers Bundler Audit as well, but maybe not. All right, but so more static analysis of things that have been reported as being insecure. Awesome. What else?
Users. The weakest
Weakest.
part of each
Okay.
application are users and credentials and privileges. So I think the most important is to know how it's secured or handled by Cancan or other stuff. But also it's important to know how they dealing with, let's say, we have application where we hiring and firing people. So also this entire process should be tackled, right? Of course it depends, but users and their credentials and privileges in general are quite important.
Mhm.
Because if you give some people too much, they could even not intentionally, but makes a bad let's say.
Sure thing. Well, this is probably from a bit different angle than, let's say, this. Because when we talk about, if I understand correctly, if we talk about user, their credentials and privileges, this is like a security breach within the domain. So we could process, for example, if we use credentials which are like less than 6 letters, right?
Or two-way
Characters.
authentication or something.
2FA, that's probably the same realm. So for credentials, we should check whether they are strong enough, because this can be guessed in like.
Or
5
changing
seconds.
password, or
Mhm.
by 6 months or something. If it's automatically or not, they have that kind of tools, let's say, automatically, because you don't have to remember about that.
All right.
I also think that it makes sense to start looking into the table, because sometimes people don't encrypt passwords, you just keep it as is.
The encryption, yeah.
And if we touch the user's parts and encryption, I would also consider checking if we are using ready-made solution for authentication like a device, or if somebody tried to do everything from the scratch, right? Because
I think you've read the same article. I will read it in a second. All right, so authentication. Don't do it yourself.
if something is really tested and widely used, just
You will fail. Right?
Yes.
So probably use device or something similar. At least at this level. Fun story from the one of the client. I was reviewing an application and there was something called simple authentication token. I think it's a gem.
Yeah.
And so I was reviewing. It was in the application. I ended up removing that, so I was reviewing the gems for the security audit as well, and it said like explicitly, do not use unless your team exactly knows how it works. So I went back to the project owner, technical project owner, and I said, okay, so why do we use it? And he said, I don't know. It's a legacy application. Yeah, no, it was used, but it was used like the application is like 7 or 8 years old, and it was added back then, like 7 or 8 years ago, because it was like an API only application. Now it's like full stack application, and it doesn't need it anymore. But everyone was just afraid of removing. If you have something like authorization in the gem, and it's also used in the application controller, then you kind of don't touch it, right? And it was, again, just for sake of this story, it was an attempt to provide a custom authorization for authentication for the application. So again, and it was written explicitly, do not use unless you really know what to do, and well, they didn't. So yeah, use device. As for encryption, this is a fun one, because well, Rails give us the possibility to encrypt. But so there is one thing, but also we have that data at rest. So for example, when we have our database stored somewhere, hosted somewhere, it could also be encrypted at rest. So this is so when it is stored, it's encrypted. So even if someone accesses it some way, you don't have a leak. It's outside of Ruby on Rails realm. So this is like on the hosting part, but something also to check whether how that data is stored. All right. What else?
We can check application against OWASP rules.
Oh yeah.
And then you get to know that device is not following OWASP very well.
Who is? It's like we aim for that,
Yeah.
but all right. But this is a cheat. This is a cheat. There are like 15 things inside. Let's go over. If you remember anything, let's go over, because that's very important.
I remember
Did
that
they change actually?
I was fixing, for example, the device is, you can replay the request from device after the user will sign off.
But is it based on session storage? Is it because you have session in cookies?
Yes, and if someone gets to that, they can replay the request even if we log out and invalidate, because there is no invalidation on this.
Yeah. Sorry guys, it's kind of like following up on all the conversation that we used to have, but it's not a device thing, it's a Rails thing. If you switch to the session storage to database, it doesn't concern device, I think. Okay, so session storage. So maybe let's start with here. This is a set of rules. No, not rules. Like the most common things that are a cause of a security breach in applications. And there is also a great article, and I think you've read that. I'm pretty sure from what you said.
Just before the talk.
Which lists those most common security breaches in context of Rails. So what we can learn there, for example, is that Rails by default have an insecure way of handling sessions, because Rails, when you start a session, there's some data content related to that, and the application has to store it somewhere, and it stores it in cookies, so that they are attached to every request. And that's fine on a very high level, because you cannot change it. The application would know. Still, it can be stored in different. It doesn't have to be stored in cookies. It might be stored, for example, in the database. Which used to be a bit easier. Now you have to want it. But what comes with, like when you store your session in database, you as an application owner can invalidate it. You can say, okay, the session is no more, I can remove it. But if it's stored in cookies, you don't have that authority. So, and so the session can be hijacked and used by someone else, because you don't own the session data. And that's explained in an article I will link you guys in a second. All right, so you can check OWASP again. Is a cheat. Who knows what's inside? Please let me know. But one of the things is a check how we store sessions. What else can we check?
I would propose do not use session storage as database, because you can DDoS your database. Instead of that, you can use Redis.
Redis is a database.
Yeah, but Redis is showing much more performance than.
All right, so that's performance.
You will fail just your database instead of having Redis, and you can scale Redis much faster than database.
All right. I can only agree. Is there a data? Is there like an easy to use Redis session?
Yeah, Redis active storage.
Sorry.
Redis session storage gem, and you can use Redis.
I just don't remember. I'm not. So okay. Awesome, guys. Session storage, use database, but use Redis. Fast, performant, and no DDoS.
Oh, maybe everything.
Sounds like marketing.
Yeah.
Or cache.
Sure. So what else would you check? Again, just for a reminder, so we have a legacy application or just a mature application.
I would check define methods.
Define method.
You can define everything or override.
What about
Sorry. Why would you check it?
Because you can override or some methods can be overwritten, and it's just stupid logic. And it's not clear.
But
Yeah, it was added by developer, but it's not clear for application. I
right,
would
but
say.
does
And you
So
can
then-
use arrays, and you can define some methods based on some values received from another method, and it's really dynamic.
all right? So I would say okay. So in words, a mess is always a threat. Like
Yeah.
if we have files with like 5,000 lines, there is always a threat that someone will do something that was not intended there.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, we just have cognitive law.
No, it can be small file with
Yeah, but-
define method, and it can,
Yeah,
for example,
I-
receive data from, let's say, API and define
I'm
some.
just saying, okay, but define method create the situation where you don't know what's actually inside, and you can
Yeah.
make an error, or someone can slip some code as a developer. But as a developer, you can do almost anything. So for this, I just don't know if this is a security threat for an application in these terms.
Okay.
So it's a threat for the development of the application, and bad things might happen and will happen eventually, especially when this application is passed for like 3 different teams, and there are so many people to blame. But definitely something that there shouldn't be. I just don't know if this is like something.
Yeah,
I think Brakeman should say like don't use it. So yeah, definitely something to look into, and so it lands on the board.
But more it's avoiding some libraries like this FFI, as I remember. You can load some C compiled objects, for example.
But if you are a developer, you can do everything.
You do not know like the source of this project. You're completely new in this project, and
I'm not
it can
saying
be-
you have to-
I would say
It might be
brute
your
force
problem.
Indian people
Guys,
added some things to your application, and
Okay.
right now.
Sorry. Let's keep it neat because Grill is waiting. Like, okay, so, what can I? This other thing that you said. Like,
Working some libraries if, from other languages.
what can I check for?
FFI, as I remember, it calls FFI German. You can load some FFI. I will open everything.
Almost FBI.
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
FBI jam in your application.
I will tell exactly.
All right, I will check it because I honestly don't know what we are talking about right now,
Okay.
but I will check it and thank you for that.
It's
There was-
loading dynamically linked native libraries from C, from
Also,
C.
if there are any libraries.
Yeah,
all
it's
right.
like library injection, let's say, but not through bundle.
I'm reluctant to even add any gem to my application normally. So yeah, definitely it's something I would like.
Yeah,
to
sometimes
follow.
you need to process, for example, Ruby is slow and you need to add some library with another language. You just need
Ruby is
this library
fast.
injection.
All right, thank you. There was something to be added.
Yeah, I was wondering about the database and data, right? Security and restoring. I'm not sure if it's from the security perspective, but one leg, let's say, I would say that would be because secure data as are essential of our application. So I would say I would check. Maybe not deploys, but restoring backup, etc. I know that a lot of stuff are done by AWS, Heroku, or other stuff.
Okay.
But the knowledge about that, I think, is important.
All right. Cool. Great. What else? Maybe please go ahead, and then I will try to focus on one area.
Yeah, from the user perspective, file submission, you can upload files that can eventually execute something
How?
in your application. Some scripts, it's possible if you allow uploading file formats.
You mind?
How would you check for that?
Mind types.
How would you check for that?
Well, in the form, you can do it actually in the front end. You check upset the right file types, or in the back end, depending on which library you use, active storage or carry away.
All right, but let's try to. Can you give like an example? So we have this project. There is file submission. What would you or how would you check it?
You can do it like manually. Go to the forms and check that if you're supposed to store files like images, you allow only images formats.
Well, the fact that you can upload the script doesn't mean that it would execute ever.
Yes, yeah, true as well. But it could be.
It could be a vulnerability if someone will download this. If you're not showing the image, but you just publish it in gallery, and someone just see, okay, it probably is a broken page, so I will download and run it. So this could be a vulnerability, but not for your system, more for your users.
I have an example exactly for this. Let's say that you work for some agency, and this agency wants you to process data of their clients, and so you send it, and they like, hey, I download it, and I open your application, and it should be like Word, and it won't be .doc file, it will be some executable file, and it will be malware basically. And
Yeah,
so
definitely.
they will blame you, right? Because you said it, you send them this, and you didn't filter this on your steps. So
Sure.
maybe this would be.
That's definitely a use case, and especially that you work in this domain, so probably this should be like the first thing that you check when writing it.
But in the same time, sorry for interrupting, but if you want to just checking the file extension is not enough, I think there is like a MIME data, or
You
something
can
like that.
check-
You need to check.
You can check file signature, by the way. You can
Oh,
Yeah,
That's
so
what,
it's
that's
not,
what I did. So,
that's how I did my job, right? All right, yes, so definitely
for the files that have signature, because some don't have, right?
Yeah, so and probably do not allow like zip files because who knows what's inside and so on. So, but definitely file upload is a bit so which you should avoid. All right, guys, but this also touches on a thing I wanted to like push towards, because it seems that you guys all write APIs, right? Looking at this,
Yeah,
no problem, you guys.
for API, we can also have the course configuration maybe.
Of course, but
Yeah.
now we are coming front end. Well, but
Just mentioning because sometimes
no.
I met the solution to put asterisk.
Oh, it costs if you're saying about config file.
I'm about to do a bad thing and ask you about front-end stuff. So let's see where we get there. But course, yeah, what happens if course is bad?
Like the communication between which domains are allowed to communicate between each other. Yeah. So when you put sometimes like to ease the development, you put the asterisk and you forget about it.
So we can define what domains can get stuff from us,
Mhm, yeah.
right? All right. So yeah, this is like out of the box. You just need a rack course gem, and you can define what domains can ask for stuff from your application. All right. Anything else, but maybe coming from front-end realm. So we have a view. Anything related to the presentation layer?
JavaScript injection.
JS injection. It has a different name, right?
Because
Yeah, so it would be XSS, right?
Yeah.
How would you check for that?
do not use
Looking
HTML
at-
save.
We start. HTML. I will get to this because this is one of my major points. But exercise. Would you like to add something to that? You don't have to, but
Actually, I would first look into the database and do some selects and seeing if there are text fields, first of all, long fields, and we'll see what is inside these fields. And if I realize that there is JavaScript, actually I could write just SQL, but you check this, so it would signify that there is possibly there is a problem with this field. So it could be a starting point which you should check later in Ruby code and layer that is using HTML5. Because non-existence or existence HTML5 call in Vue does not mean anything, actually, right?
HTML5?
Existence or not existence on some field does not mean that it protects, it can happen that HTML5 is called on a field that cannot have JavaScript injected.
Oh yeah, we'll get to HTML safe in a second
So I
because
mean,
it's
just grabbing this thing does not mean anything.
oh yeah,
not
definitely because especially I bet like 70% people don't know what it does. But we'll get to that in just a second. So XSS, who remembers how to
Cross-site scripts.
cross-site scripts?
So basically,
yeah.
it's becomes to data analysis and.
Well, yes and no. You don't actually need to look at data to know that it can happen. So basically, just FYI, because if you all write just backend things, then maybe you can take a look at the like front-end form. So just a high-level overview, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So if we collect user input and later on display this user input to other users, then this initial user could pass some malicious code, so JavaScript, and that's malicious for sure. This code, for example, if someone puts a comment and on a page and includes JavaScript, if this comment is later on seen by other users, that JavaScript will execute. And with that, you already have a scenario for disaster. So we have to make sure that this code is safe for, this HTML code is safe for displaying to others. And people very often use HTML safe for that. So they load things from database, and HTML is a method which you can call on a string in Revit. So they take this string, call HTML safe on that, and display it. Do you guys know what HTML safe does?
It makes it safe, like it's, we assume that it is safe, yeah?
As I remember, it sets some tag, some field in the string that is HTML safe or not, you can verify it.
Sorry,
so
normally
what's the gist? Like one sentence.
Because the same moment it makes it as safe, so it renders as it is, yeah? Or not? Because the sanitize was the other method, yeah?
HTML safe sets a string as safe,
Yeah.
and does nothing to it.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you mark it as HTML safe, therefore
You assume
your renderer will think that it's safe, no matter what's inside. And people very often use it as, okay, I run HTML safe, therefore it's safe. The naming is horrible.
The naming is horrible.
Yeah, and it has been discussed so many times, and maybe that's a good idea to, like, after in some breaking change, maybe change it, because why not? And this, like, if a document about most often security breaches reasons contains a reference to HTML safe, it's just wrong. Because, well, this is like a language tool or a framework tool, and it shouldn't be confusing. So yeah, look out for HTML safe, because most often it means something
The
bad.
correct way to use or correct moment when you create some HTML code as a string and you don't want to serialize to mess with this, this is the moment when you need to use HTML set, because you already prepared this string for your page. This is why it exists at all.
Or you want to create a helper or something like that, right? Or when you want to create a helper, right? So you write an HTML code, but
Yeah, because
it's still not ideal.
if the rendering part doesn't know that it's safe, it would escape the characters that might be unsafe. And when you mark it as HTML safe, then you can write your brackets and so on. All right, guys. So
There is a hand raised.
I just want to say that Rubocop tends to make it worse because it warns you that it's not marked as HTML safe without explicitly saying that it's not making it safe. So the tools basically make it worse if you don't know what's going on.
yeah, so basically this is root of all evil. for frontend. So yeah, well, exactly. If you see it, just check. Again, do we have some time left, or should we switch to Grill?
We have one more hand raised.
No, please go ahead. This will be a good one.
I want to suggest to flip this panel upside down.
Yeah, how come?
For just 5 minutes.
Just sit down and.
So,
to remind you.
So we have all of this expertise, and my question is, because we have all of these tools, all of this knowledge, and all of this expertise, I didn't hear why are we doing this? What are we protecting? Because
The client
if this
does.
is one vault and we have all of these protections, then what do we have inside? Is it empty? Like, I mean, because all of these securities doesn't mean anything if it's empty. So it would be good if you know what do you have to lose if you don't follow all of these practices.
I'd say it's different.
Are you resources?
It's different for each one.
Are you trying to say about database and that you have to
But what's inside the database?
encrypt, for instance, the bank accounts and,
Yeah.
and similar things?
Data.
Money, basically money.
Not really.
Not only money, but your reputation also.
But everything can be turned into money. That's money too, because because they will find you. But I wanted to mention there's infrastructure behind this. Even if attacker doesn't gain access to the data, and they gain access to your servers, they can still like put a Bitcoin mining or something like that, and basically steal money from you because they will attack your infrastructure. So that's also something that you can lose, and it turns into money basically.
Yeah, sure.
And I wanted to also mention even if you have users, users might not lose money, but they can lose privacy because their data will leak.
Sorry, what
Yeah.
about trust?
Yeah, trust. Yeah.
Trust is the most, I think, valuable thing here.
It is related directly to money, to be honest.
I think you can add time because some of them attacks are just actually time wasters. You can lose your credentials. It will take time to regain them. You can lose time for your database access. It's also time, and it's like just piling up.
Okay, what about code? Is code valuable?
Yes.
It depends. It depends.
We have an engineer here.
If we are using, external gens, etc., and we have the business logic is most important than code, because you can shitty code that business logic, but the business logic makes money, right?
So it's in purpose to make a shit business logic inside coupling and so on to nobody know what's there.
Snake code,
Yeah.
Okay. What about traffic? If you have a website that has a lot of traffic,
Black Friday.
not that. Let's say someone injects an ad on your high traffic website. They basically stole money from you because they are showing their ad on your website. Just because you basically allowed for cross-site scripting in the comment, and they injected like Google Ads tag, and there was like a Google Ads tag. So traffic is also valuable. Even though they didn't steal data, infrastructure, they stole the traffic, which is also important and should be protected. So that's why I wanted to say I want to flip this other way, because all of these tools and expertise and knowledge work for something. We don't have empty vault, and many of these protections are very important, but for different things in the vault. Not for everything, but for most of them. Like, I also wanted to mention file upload. If someone can upload any file, like maybe 5 gigs or something to your server, that's like infrastructure and traffic that can be stolen. Because they can spread games, movies, and stuff like that. You will be fined for spreading the games or movies and stuff like that. And you will be also you will get a nice bill from AWS for big traffic and for S3 hosting costs. So that's also something to protect. Like every of these points can be correlated to something in the vault. Do you have anything to add to the vault?
No, not really. I wanted to wrap up because probably
I will check it.
Probably not.
so
you still have time.
there is so much more to be put in here. I have some of my points which are quite similar to those, and probably we can continue by the fire, by the barbecue. So I would just wrap up, and maybe we can go and talk about it more outside.
Yep, that's great idea.
All right, so give me like 7 minutes, hopefully. Let's see what I have in here. There are, like, come closer. There are a few things that we didn't talk about. So guys, we've talked about having an up-to-date change. What about Ruby version? Do you know what's the supported version of Ruby? 3.1? Yes. So if you are struggling to update to 3.0, don't bother. It's marginally more secure than 7.7.
I think 3.0 had its latest security patch.
Yeah, like a month ago, but it's just getting worse now. So the end of life for Ruby 3.0 has come. So now please upgrade to 3.1. It's probably easier to answer for Rails. Do you guys know which version still gets security patches?
5 something.
6.1, exactly. 6.0 is out of date, and 6.1 is still here, probably not for that long. Does it have an end of life in here? Not really, but surely 7 is the one that you really want. And this Open Worldwide Application Security Project, for sure. This was already mentioned. Those are like a list. This is taken from the OWASP page, so this is quite general. But as was mentioned, as I mentioned, there is this great article, like a cheat sheet series, OWASP.org. And honestly, there is so much data there that you should all go through. Patrick has pointed out that you don't, there is a bit more, I have 3 slides with that, but Patrick has mentioned that there is a tool that can just check all those things in your application. I tried to use it, but I got like a feeling that I'm sending my data somewhere outside of my, I know I am not. Well, they said that I'm not, but still I can see so eventually I haven't.
If you, okay, because they updated the README so that you use cloud analysis, but if you go, I think like 3 months or 4 months back to the README, before the cloud suggestion, there's like a command how to do it without cloud.
Yeah, there is CLI of course as well.
But without cloud.
Yeah.
And you can do it. You just, they are just suggesting you push to cloud.
Yeah, but they still wanted me to create an account.
No, if you go to the older docs, you can get the command how to run it without account.
So you use the docs out of date.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because the out of date is still support.
All right. Yeah, so you don't have to do it manually. I think I haven't included the name of this tool, but
SEMGREP. SEMGREP. SEMGREP.
We'll put it on the table. All right. So this document lists a lot of things. One thing that we haven't mentioned is the eval method, which can evaluate any code and run anything on the machine, so please don't use it, especially not with the combination of params from your controller. SQL injection, when this one is a pain and it happens over and over and over again, because people think that they can run away from that by using very custom and very beautiful strings. They shouldn't, and they won't. And again, cross-site scripting, HTML say this one we covered. What else? Session should be in the database, but perhaps in Redis. Authentication, do not write it, just use device or something better. CSRF. If you use Rails, just don't invent your own forms and use them as they come from Rails. I won't elaborate on that, but still, if you use Rails native forms, this one should be covered. Things that we haven't talked about, redirects and forwards. Like people sometimes, it's very easy to redirect in Rails controller, and you can put, like if you have redirect 2, you can put anything in there, and people sometimes put, for example, params, because it's like easier and easy to write. So then someone can put something malicious in the parameters and have your user redirected to their page. So don't do that. Dynamic renders, also when you have render and then you specify the partial. If you use params there, someone can also render a partial that shouldn't be rendered on that page. So again, one of the points is do not allow for dynamic render paths. And as Jarek mentioned, course, definitely use PLRUG course and set it properly. What else? Static analysis tool. Brakeman is one that everyone knows about and use. One thing, use an up-to-date version. If you have like 6.0 application, or even 5 point something application, or for example an application that uses Ruby 2.7, you won't get the most up-to-date Brakeman. So you won't get all the up-to-date rules as well. If you are able to upgrade to Ruby 3.0, maybe only for the sake of running Brakeman, that's still valuable. So update, so to install the most up-to-date Brakeman version and then run it to check. Again, quite a few other tools, all are valuable to use. This is like an example Brakeman usage, but you all know it, right? So, yeah, I won't talk about this. It's very important to keep the gems up to date, as was said, but don't be an early adopter if you don't have to. So if there is the newest version, the newest major version, for example, it has bugs. So maybe don't use it, don't rush to it. You may, if you like your chances, but if you wait 2 weeks, you won't be the one affected by the early bug. And one thing, the newest version may still be out of date. That story that I told you about using this gem for authorization, which was not used properly, I've done an experiment there as well. There were quite many gems in that project, and I don't know if you guys have. I have this addition. How is it called? The thing that you install to your ID extension to VS Code, which tells me what's the most up-to-date version of a gem file. So I was saying, okay, I have more like up-to-date versions, and then I checked the source code of each of those. I went to README, and I realized that like half of the gems weren't updated in 2 years, and some of them weren't updated in 7 years or 9. So the fact that you have the most up-to-date version doesn't mean that it's secure or it's in general up-to-date. It might be the last tested version might be like Ruby 2.5 for all we know. So not only check if you have the most up-to-date version, but also check what's the most up-to-date version. Is it up to date in the general terms? And just be responsible for your gems. Like you can add anything. For sure, you can add webmock. That might be the first one, but do not, because well, you get so much. But if you just add gems to do something that you can put in 3 lines, then just don't use a gem. It's a dependency and it's a burden. So just understand what your gems do. Something about hard coding secrets, yeah, and putting stuff, like putting passwords when they shouldn't be. Well, that happens. And if you put a password in the repository, then make sure to force push an update, because if you don't force push an update, then it is stored as a repository works, right? So if you ever push a password to repository, make sure to override it with a force push. And yeah, use secure connection. What else? I think barbecue time. I think that's it.
One thing, also this is what I saw in one of my old projects. I don't know how it is dangerous to have your ID of entity in a URL, but I saw the solution in one project that was like a simple function which just take an ID, which is integer, and add some constant values. So outside of the world, they don't know exactly what your ID is, and they don't have a way. Okay, they could somehow find those values, but at the same time, you can do it more random if you want. So it's maybe marginal, but still you can create some. You always can use UUID, for instance. But if you hide your IDs, it's also could increase your security.
All right, guys. So thank you.
Yeah.
That's it.